Why interruptions reveal power. Have you ever been in the middle of speaking, sharing something that truly mattered to you, when someone suddenly cuts you off? It happens in meetings, it happens with friends, it even happens in the quietest, most intimate moments with someone you love. The real question is this: how do you respond? Do you fall silent, shrinking into the background? Do you force a polite smile and whisper, "Sorry, go ahead"? It feels harmless, but it isn't, because every time you surrender that moment, you're teaching the world how much or how little your voice deserves to be heard. This is not just about interruptions, it's about power, about presence, about respect. And today I'll show you something timeless. 3 simple words that stop interruptions in their tracks. Words once used by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Words so deceptively simple, yet powerful enough to silence a room and draw every eye back to you. Stay with me until the end, because once you learn these words, you'll never struggle to be heard again. If you believe in mastering yourself, if you want to remain unshakable in a noisy world, subscribe now. This is Save Yourself, where we grow stronger together. Part 1. Words and Power. The ancients understood this truth well. Words shape empires. One promise can spark a war. One command can save thousands of lives. Seneca wrote to Lucilius, "Brevity and calm in speech carry more force than the loudest cries of the crowd. Not noise, not volume, but calm authority." And it's still true today. Power no longer rests in swords or shields. It rests in your ability to hold attention with words. In meetings, if you can't hold attention, you're ignored. In negotiations, if you can't defend your words, you're dismissed. Even in relationships, if you can't steady your voice, you're overlooked. Here's the problem. Most of us give our power away. We smile awkwardly, we whisper, "Sorry," we yield, and with that single habit, we send a dangerous message. My voice matters less than yours. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily, do not be distracted by what is unnecessary. Hold to what is essential. If you don't protect the essential in your words, others will take it from you. So, how do you reclaim attention without shouting, without anger? It begins with the first word, part 2. The first word, listen. Why is this word so powerful? Psychologists call it an orienting signal. The moment you say listen, the human brain instinctively stops, focuses, and prepares for something important. Picture this: a meeting filled with voices talking over each other. You don't raise your voice. You don't slam the table. You simply say, "Listen." Here's what needs to be done first. The noise fades. The room stills, not because you demanded silence, but because the word listen commands attention. Epictetus used it with his students. When they grew restless, he didn't shout. He lifted his gaze and said calmly, "Listen." Order was restored. Centuries later, Martin Luther King Jr. used the same technique. In the middle of "I have a dream," he often began with, "Now listen." Thousands of people shouting, and yet at those words they leaned in. Listen reminds others, your words carry value. You're not asking permission, you're declaring presence. But attention alone isn't enough. You must give people a reason to stay. That's where the second word enters. Part 3, the second word. Important interruptions happen. Because people assume their thoughts matter more than yours. But the moment you use the word important, that assumption collapses. The hierarchy of the conversation shifts instantly. Neuroscience shows that when something is labeled important, the brain prioritizes it. Focus deepens. Imagine someone interrupts your presentation. Instead of retreating, you say calmly, "The important point is this." The interruption dies. Nobody wants to ignore what's important. Marcus Aurelius himself did this. Surrounded by endless chatter from advisors, he would raise his hand and declare, "The important matter is the discipline of the soldiers." And just like that, all noise vanished. So try this in your daily life. What's important here is that I explain the reason first. Or the important detail I was about to add changes everything. With that one word, you stop competing for attention, you define where it belongs, but importance alone can still feel abstract. To truly command presence, you must tie it to time. That's where the third word takes hold. Part 4. The third word. Now, later is easy to ignore, tomorrow can be postponed, but now cannot be brushed aside. Seneca wrote, life is divided into 3 parts: what was, what will be, and what is. We are not masters of the first 2, but only the third. The Stoics believed the present is our only possession. That's why the word now is so powerful. It demands presence. Imagine being interrupted mid-thought. Instead of shrinking, you say, now let me finish this. That single word halts the other person. Now isn't negotiable. It pulls them into the present with you. Leaders throughout history have relied on it. A general doesn't command soon. He commands now. A coach doesn't shout later. He demands now. Urgency commands action. With listen, you gain attention. With important, you define priority. With now, you root presence in the only moment that matters. But there's still a trap, and it's the very word most of us use every day. Part 5. The trap of sorry. Think about how often you've done this. You're interrupted. Without thinking, you mutter, sorry, go ahead. It feels polite, but beneath the surface, it's devastating, because every time you say sorry in that moment, you aren't just apologizing, you're asking permission to exist in the conversation. You're teaching the other person. Your words matter more than mine. Epictetus warned, no one can diminish you without your consent. When you surrender with sorry, you're giving that consent away. In a meeting, it makes you invisible. At home, it makes your feelings seem secondary. Repeat it often enough, and people will believe it. Not out of cruelty, but because you've trained them to. Authority isn't forced, it's embodied, and sorry erodes it. So what's the alternative? Part 6. The Stoic alternative. Listen, there's more. Instead of shrinking with sorry, reclaim space with this phrase, listen, there's more. Someone cuts you off, you don't fade. You meet their eyes and say, listen, there's more. The interruption loses momentum. People lean in because you've reminded them that your voice carries substance, not noise. Even in relationships, this changes the dynamic. Instead of surrendering with sorry, you calmly assert, listen, there's more. The Stoics called this the discipline of speech, mastering not only silence, but directing it. Sorry makes your words feel small. Listen, there's more makes them sound like truth. Part 7. The Stoic lesson. At the heart of Stoicism lies this truth. Your words reveal your character. Epictetus said, discipline of speech reflects discipline of thought. Seneca wrote, brevity holds more power than volume. Marcus Aurelius warned, waste no words on what is unnecessary. When you use listen, you claim attention. When you use important, you define priority. When you use now, you anchor presence. And when you replace sorry with listen, there's more. You stop surrendering your authority. This isn't about arrogance, it's about integrity. Respect isn't demanded, it's embodied. And the one who embodies respect never has to ask for it. They carry it wherever they go. So remember these words, practice them. Let them reshape not just the way you speak, but the way others listen. And if you're ready to strengthen not only your words, but your entire way of living, subscribe to the Stoic habit. Together, we walk the path of calm authority. Together, we learn to live unshakable.